Good evening and good to have you with us on this edition of The Last Word. And tonight we have two big debates, two big issues lined up. Both of these debates are related to you as the consumer. So stay on with us and feel free to interact, to call up, share your views on both of these issues. First one relates to this controversy that has been doing the rounds about the high prices, about the high tariffs that luxury hotels and five-star hotels charge us for some of the food that they offer. And by food, I don't mean gourmet dishes. By food, I simply mean bananas and boiled eggs or omelets. First, it was Rahul Bose, the actor, who tweeted about his five-star bill, and he complained about the exorbitant cost attached to the 2 bananas that he had ordered. Then there was another person, Kartik Dhar, who tweeted. He in fact even proposed a campaign against these high tariffs, and it became a huge social media controversy. Well, tonight it's not just a social media controversy anymore, because viewers, the government has decided that this is unfair, that you cannot be charging 850 rupees for 1 boiled egg. You cannot be charging 400 rupees for 2 bananas. And so our Consumer Affairs and Food Minister, Ramvilas Paswan, today spoke about it. And he said he's taken note of these reports and that the government will ask the hotels to explain why such high prices are being charged. He quoted the Consumer Protection Act, he quoted the Unfair Trade Practices Act, and he said that this kind of a practice should not be allowed. I have a very simple question tonight. Should the government be interfering here? Should the government be deciding and regulating five-star tariffs and fees and prices? Is that fair? Or should private businesses be allowed to function? Should market dynamics be allowed to decide what the prices should be? Let's say a quick good evening to our panelists. Varun Duggal, CEO and Executive Director for Eastman Color Restaurants. Samir Soni, an actor, joining us from Mumbai. Saeed Asad Abbas, activist, joining us from Bengaluru. And Mukesh Tyagi, also an actor. Well, let me go across to Samir Soni first, because Samir, this conversation actually began thanks to a tweet by Rahul Bose, who had to pay 400 rupees for 2 bananas. Where do you stand on this debate? Should the government step in?
Well, firstly, on the onset, I'd like to say that I was pretty surprised myself when I read Rahul's tweet. It's pretty shocking to know that something which probably costs what 2 rupees or 3 rupees or 4 rupees, and you're paying 200 or 300 rupees for that. So it seems very shocking. It was shocking and seemed rather unfair. But putting emotions aside, if we talk about the sheer logic, I am a firm believer in free market economy, especially when it comes to luxury items or things that are sold in a luxury place like a five-star hotels. So I think they are just trying to maximize their profit. So, and which they're entitled to, and they pay taxes on that. What surprises me more is that people are willing to, in spite of these prices, people are willing to spend that kind of money. For example, a hotel room in a peak season time might cost you 25,000 rupees a night. Now that compared to any other room might be 3,000 rupees. So yes, there is a disparity, but I don't think that the government should kind of intervene in that, as ridiculous as it sounds. I think the market will stabilize by itself. If people keep charging this kind of money, people will rather go to a 3-star hotel or a smaller hotel. So I'd like to see supply and demand take care of it.
Let supply and demand take care of it. Mr. Tyagi, what is your own thought? Because I mean, at the end of the day, if you don't want to pay so much at the 5-star hotel, just step out of the hotel. I'm sure outside the hotel, there'll be one, shop selling it for 1/10 the price.
I certainly believe there should be market-driven economy, laissez-faire by, like the prudent principles laid down by Adam Smith. Free market economy is great, but I think we have administered pricing economy also in India. India is a mixed economy concept where the government interference in the free pricing has been evident from time immemorial. So I will not say, like Mr. Paswan, I think way back in April, passed an advisory, he wrote it to it, that service charges should be dropped. And what happened as a result, most of the restaurants had started dropping it, and they said it is a voluntary for you to pay service charges or not. Otherwise, most of the hotels had started charging service charges, which was mandatory and obligatory without any percentage here and there. It was part of the bill. You could not make a discretion that you did not provide me right service, so I will reduce your service charges. So it became a mandatory kind. So there have been lot of malpractices which were entered. For example, mineral water, of course, Supreme Court said that you let them charge above the MRP. But my point is that, like in electricity sector, the tariff is fixed based on the cost and plus return. Now the cost can be, which will be actual cost, like your amortization, your interest, your depreciation, your financing cost. Based on that, you come out with the cost, and then you say you charge some reasonable return. Otherwise, charging 1700 rupees or 440 rupees for 2 banana, I mean, of course, I mean, they are entitled to charge, but you see, it looks very unconscionable to me. There has to be some kind of a reasonable nexus between the basic pricing. I know the 5 stars are expensive, overheads are high, but does it truly reflect, or it is becoming economic rent or obscene amount of money they are trying to extract from the customers who are left with no choice but to go to the 5 star?
Okay, but okay,
They have deep pockets, but
okay.
the people who are not having deep pockets want to enjoy the luxury.
People who don't have the money want to enjoy the luxury. What about
They
that?
must be
Okay,
given
fair enough
certain,
point. I'll take that across to the other side. But I just want to point out, Mr. Tyagi, that while you say the government and was very clear that the hotels can't be forcing a service charge on their consumers, the hotels and the restaurants have found their way out of it. They now upfront tell you, many of them have notice boards at the entrance of the hotel saying that we are going to charge you 10% service fee. So if you're not all right with it, please don't come. Many of them write it on their menu that on top of this, we are going to. So their way of getting around that rule that the government brought in was to say that we are informing our customers upfront that we will charge you separately for our service, and if the customers don't want it, they don't need to come inside. Now, effectively, then that rule should also be stopped. The government hasn't stepped in and stopped that. So why should this be allowed? Samir, you wanted to respond to what Mr. Tyagi is saying?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that, I mean, you can't really compare, say, electricity to something like fine dining, even if it's a banana in a 5-star hotel with a lovely view or whatever. You can't, they're like apples and oranges. Electricity is a necessity. If, you were to say sugar or anything else, but when you're going to a specific place, you're also paying for the ambience, the environment. Now, it's up to you if you think it's worth it or not. I've had a cup of tea for like 150 rupees, which probably would cost 5 rupees outside. But that's a call I will make. I don't think government should rightfully come in. It doesn't, to my logical mind, doesn't sound fair. I mean, as far as basic necessities are concerned, I can understand. But in a 5-star hotel in which you're going to be paying 28% taxes anyway, so, I'm sorry, no offense to Rahul Bose, but then he shouldn't have been in a 5-star hotel to eat bananas. He should have walked down the road and from a rediwala picked it up for like 5 rupees.
Okay. Abbas, where do you stand on this debate? Do you think it's fair for the government to step in? And also, let's try and differentiate. And like, Samir Soni is pointing out, this isn't about essential commodities. This isn't about essential services. One can make that argument for travel, even for airline travel, to say the people need to go, for example, to the Northeast. They need to fly in. You must have some amount of regulation on ticket prices. But this is simply luxury. And you got to pay for the luxury.
All right, Tanviji, on a lighter note, I think the richest man in the world, previously Bill Gates, also did say about expensive places and hotels that, even I would drop it here. Now we know it is Amazon owner, Jeff Bezos, who's the richest man. Nevertheless, the point that I'm trying to make here is a very simple one. I do certainly agree. Three-star hotels, a 1-star hotel, a 5-star or a 7-star hotel would certainly have added prices. I do agree on this front with Samir Soni Saab, and I also agree with Tyagi ji कि इतना भी ज़्यादा नहीं होना चाहिए. All right, I do agree. GST, CGST, and also luxury tax, so on and so forth. But something which costs a 5 rupees, 10 rupees banana, costing roughly about 2 or 3 bananas, about 440, it is way too much. I can afford a Rediwala or even a five-star hotel, but that does not entitle the five-star or the seven-star hotel to charge me that much. What are you
Okay.
charging the skies? That is absolutely
So,
not okay.
so,
Okay,
so, okay. So, no, no, no.
you
So the
charge me.
argument is, Abbas, that let the market dynamics decide that. And if enough people have a problem with a Marriott or any other hotel charging you that, they will stop going to that hotel. And that
I'll
will
tell you.
then define what prices they need to charge you.
Tanuji, the simple thing that I'm trying to make here is I certainly do agree on the front that the market dynamics and also the hospitality industry and certain sections of luxury tax which entails luxury cars, houses, or even hotels. But my point here is it shouldn't be the skies, all right, charging the plus taxes plus luxury tax and then your ambient charge, so on and so forth. Even then, it should not entail that much. That is way too much, and I'm very happy and glad that the government is coming into this. There has to be regulations, or they would schemingly charge way more. Even I'll tell you something. I recently held a huge event in a star hotel, and I'll tell you the feedback. Even the richest of richest fight for a single price rupee when it comes to charges. So rich or poor, everybody pays through tooth and nail. Too much is way too much, and we Indians or anybody in the world with any strata of society is not okay. When you pay a particular sum, say 1 rupee for something which is worth a rupee, should not be 1,000 rupee. That is my point. You cannot ask for the sky and the moon for something which is worth on an earthly manner. So that orderly should happen, and I'm very glad that regulations from the government, Ram Vilas Paswanji, is coming and making a difference on this front. Certainly, yes,
Okay,
you charge us the luxury
Samir
tax,
Wani
you charge us
says,
all the
okay,
tax, but it
okay.
should not be over and above.
Samir Soni says,
It should be
government
fair.
shouldn't interfere. Syed Asad Abbas and Mukesh Tyagi say government needs to step in because there needs to be a limit to the kind of prices
Yes,
that
absolutely.
any institution is charging. Let's
Yes.
ask an industry representative, and Varun Duggal, CEO and ED of Eastman Color Restaurants, is joining me. Varun Duggal, the, 400 bucks for a banana and 1,700 bucks for boiled eggs. Does the government need to step in now?
Good evening, all of you. I've just joined in. So now I believe it depends upon a property to property. You know, I will not say that it's wrong, and I'll also not say that it's right. You know, when you have to see the moment you will enter into a hotel or in a luxury property or in a five-star hotel, you will be greeted well. You will have someone who will open a gate for you. You will have a valet services. Crores and tons of money been spent in building up that property. So obviously, when you'll go towards your restaurant, you will have a server. The server is giving you a service. Someone is there to take you to that restaurant. Someone will escort you to the restaurant. So everything comes for a money, you know. And we all need to understand that the restaurant industry is starting from taking a property on rent, getting it, buying it, or taking it on rent, and then you have to go ahead with the lease agreement. You have to pay the charges to the government in crores and crores of rupees, and then you have to buy the licenses. Everything comes for a cost. So obviously the cost, and then whatever you're selling in a restaurant or in a hotel, you have to pay proper taxes to the government. So everything involves money in it.
Okay,
So
so
for
I'm going to
me,
play a devil's advocate here for a
442
bit.
is higher amount, but there's no definition of.
Okay, I'm going to play devil's advocate here for a bit.
Please tell me.
Even though I believe in market dynamics deciding based on supply and demand, but explain to us these additional costs that you're saying that leads to a 10 rupee product being charged 800 bucks without any value addition to it. And I know you're quoting taxes, but we are paying the taxes. We are paying the central GST and the service charge if that is also put in. So those taxes are already being taken care of separately over and above this cost.
No, so obviously infrastructure cost will also come out
Yes,
from
just a
the
minute,
sale
Samir,
of
I'm coming to you next.
from the sale of a product at a hotel,
Okay.
or obviously the sale of a product will also come from a product which restaurant or a hotel is selling. You will so there is no definition of a costly product. 442 might be very costly, but for me 142 will also be equally costly. So there is no definition for a product of 442. What is costly? What do you mean it is costly? I mean, if something
Sir,
is
a banana
costly,
worth 5
it is,
rupees,
what is the
you
definition
charging
attached to it?
440 is too much, sir.
For
That is way too much. That is definitely costly, and that is the
Sir,
definition of costly.
sir, I like, for example, I come from a restaurant industry, right? The incident happened in hotel. So hotel is worth 100 crores. So he will charge. They will
Don't
charge
charge that on
442.
banana, sir. Don't
I own a restaurant.
exorbitantly
So I
high.
am for some.
Maybe you need
No, no,
four
no.
people,
I
or
am
maybe
saying,
more.
no,
Maybe
no,
if you're
no. I
charging
am.
that
Listen
much,
to me,
then you
sir.
need four
Let me
people to
complete
stand
this.
there and peel the banana
Let
and
me.
cut the banana and decorate the plate and put it all together and then serve it to the consumer. But that's on a lighter note. Samir Soni, you wanted to come in. Go ahead, please.
That was a good
No,
one,
no.
Tanvi.
I was about to come on.
Yes.
Yeah, I think we kind of we're one second. Can I just finish my this thing? I think we're kind of deviating on the debate. It's not a question of whether a banana in a five-star hotel is worth 400 rupees or not. That is not the issue. And I can't decide that for anybody else. It does sound absolutely ridiculous. But the question is, do the hotel people have the right to charge that kind of money? That's like saying to me, a car costing 2 crores is ridiculous. A Ferrari would cost you like crores of rupees. To me, it sounds ridiculous, but that doesn't mean that they can't charge me that much. They will establish their price, and if people have, as long as people are willing to pay, they will charge you. I agree with you. It sounds really stupid and ridiculous. I don't think there's anything unethical or fraud or wrongdoings that's happening. So it's not a question of where the money's from. What are you charging them for? This is what they've decided. For example, in our industry, as an actor, you'll have probably Shah Rukh Khan charging crores or Salman charging crores, and a different actor like me might charge nothing compared to them. So how do you decide, and who decides
I
that?
completely
Who
agree.
decides
Somebody
that?
can be
Okay.
objective and say, oh no, I think a
Completely agree.
banana here should be worth
I'd like
about
to quickly
That was my
100 rupees.
question. That was
I'd like
my
to quickly
question.
bring
Yeah,
That was
okay,
my
so,
question.
okay.
That
Let me quickly answer that. Let me
442
respond
is
to that.
costly.
One minute. One person at
For
a time,
someone,
please.
142
Okay.
might be very
So
costly.
let me
One person at a time.
quickly
Abbas,
respond
go
to
ahead.
that.
Yeah.
Samir Soni Sahab has brought out a very interesting point here. A normal car, a Maruti Suzuki, would not cost as much as a Ferrari or a Lamborghini, so on and so forth. I agree with you, sir. But the banana you get outside and inside is the same. The make of the car is different here, sir. The make of a Maruti Suzuki is different, and the make of a
No,
Ferrari is
sir.
different.
Yeah,
Ferrari gives you
banana you're
anything and
getting.
everything in this world. It's the same banana we are eating,
Sir.
sir. In both the places, nothing
So
gold
No,
I'm
is
sorry,
here.
I'll
banana
stop
is
you
the
here, sir.
luxury of
Okay,
your
let
room.
me
Are you
narrow
saying that
this
it's
down.
the same banana?
And the
No,
government
sir.
is right
It's
when
almost,
they
you
bring
have
in
different
regulations.
qualities of banana available
Okay.
in the Indian market.
Varun Duggal is
The
giving an answer to that.
it
There
is-
are
it is
different
the
kinds of
duty of the
bananas.
government.
No,
So
let's
you,
not-
okay, let's listen
So
into
this
Varun.
banana is
Varun, go ahead,
gold-plated.
please. Yes.
Okay, I think that's a bad argument.
So it is not about one banana. It is not about one banana. It is
Yes.
about different kind of groceries, ingredients, what goes in the restaurant kitchen. It has
In the
different
banana.
qualities attached to it. You might get 5 rupee banana from a street, but you will get
I don't
20 bucks banana also.
All
It
right,
depends from
okay.
where
Okay, so
the
essentially,
hotel
let's
is
just say
getting
this.
a banana or a
Essentially, let's
restaurant
say
is
this
getting a
for our
banana or
panelists and
getting
for
a
our
banana
viewers.
from.
Let's not get
I will not-
hung
I-
up
I am
on
not- I am
just
not
a
buying
banana
that
or
okay.
a boiled egg. 1 minute, gentlemen. It's the larger concept that we are debating tonight, which is to say
Yeah, correct. I agree.
what a high-end restaurant, luxury restaurant or hotel is charging the consumer. Should the government have a say in it or not?
Government
That's the
must and
conversation we
should
are having. Now, Mr.
definitely
Mukesh
have
Tyagi,
regulations.
if the government steps in, then where do you draw the line? Does
when
the
you-
government
when
also
you-
decide what an Udupi restaurant should be charging its consumer, considering where those consumers are coming from and what they can afford? Or is the government only going to decide for luxury hotels?
No, government
So
should resist certainly from interfering in the
there was a
pricing
case
structure
been
because
decided by
ultimately it
Yes,
is
Justice
the
Varun, just 1
government.
minute. Let me
on
ask
a
that question to
different-
Mukesh Tyagi. I'll come to you.
speak, please?
Mukesh Tyagi,
wherein
please.
Can
we
I
have-
speak, please?
Sure.
Can I speak, please?
Yes.
Yeah, what I'm trying to say is that, government certainly should resist from interfering in a private or market-driven pricing structure. I'm certainly on that issue. But the point here is the intervention we have seen, it happened in emergency in 75 to 77, where the food prices, single food pricing was introduced. Now, when you touch the axis, when you start exploiting the market, beyond your reasonable returns, then government intervention is warranted. It is not like it is a test of reasonableness. What are the reasonable pricing? Are you getting adequate returns on your investment or not? There are different segments of the hotel. Some hotels have an old land, so they can afford a different kind of pricing structure. Some hotels are very new, but what happened was the occupancy rate was low, so they started cutting down the cost of the ingredients. So there has been a lot of jugglery going on. I'm not saying that you should try to regulate the price, but yes, if you are exceeding the threshold, it is a test of reasonableness, and that is what the government should have as some watchdog. To some extent, even I would go to the extent of appointing a reasonable regulator. A regulator is appointed in the RERA has been created. Electricity regulator has been created. Why cannot we create a food regulator who controls? I'm not saying you give them a reasonable return, because that takes into the cost into consideration, all their extra services they have.
Mr. Tyagi,
We need a regulator.
no, because
And
Mr.
otherwise
Tyagi,
the prices are
if you
going to
bring
touch
in
the
a
sky high.
regulator, if you bring in a regulator, then you'll need to define this. You will need to define what's excessive. You will need to define what's exorbitant.
Yeah,
because any commissioner, regulator, official
at least it
may
will
have
become
their
more
own
transparent
definition.
process.
So how do you define that? Will you define it separately for one regular restaurant versus
and
a
where will
medium
you
end
guys
restaurant,
draw a
1,
line?
2, 3, 4,
I will
5
share
star
with you
restaurant,
precisely
a
It
Michelin
all
star
depends
restaurant?
upon the kind of investment goes beyond and the kind of employment we give to
I'm
our
only
people.
saying
Okay,
the
one
process
minute.
needs to be
I will
transparent.
certainly
Let-
define
You
that.
cannot.
Let's
you
bring
ca-
in some of views.
You
Let's
cannot
bring in.
abuse the position of authority. You have.
Okay,
All right.
let's
Okay.
bring in
The
some viewers as
consumer.
well. Raghavan is on the phone line, patiently hearing all of us calling
Can
from
I
Mumbai. Raghavan, go ahead. Where do you stand on this debate?
Mumbai, I find this pricing totally ridiculous. And there has to be, as the Mr. Activist has said, I totally agree with him, there has to be some rationale and reasonableness to the overpricing that they do. We do agree that they are over and high, but that doesn't mean that you charge 500 rupees for a 5 rupee banana.
Exactly.
It's absolutely ridiculous. So a regulation is required, and the government needs to step in. I strongly believe in.
Okay,
That
thanks.
is the whole
yes.
sole purpose of the Consumer Affairs Minister, to regulate when such unforeseen circumstances come in where exorbitant prices are charged to the consumer. It is the duty of Mr. Ram Vilas Paswan, the Honorable Consumer Affairs Minister, for the best interest of the citizens of this country who are the consumers, to come in and get things straight and right. I'll tell you how do you define costly? All right, you have the cost of the banana, add luxury tax to it, add CST, add GST, add your other tax, add your service charge, and then you give a cumulative charge,
But
which
all
could
of
be
that
equivalent
tax
to
goes to the
100 rupees.
government. How does that help the hotel meet its
Sir, I'll
costs?
stop you here. The service charge is
Accordingly, according to, of
already
course, your
optional.
profit point.
The service charge is already optional, and service
But
charge goes
sir,
to the
let me tell you,
staff
okay,
of the restaurant or a hotel. This
Correct.
service charge
okay,
doesn't come
but
to
sir,
a
okay,
restaurateur
let
who
me
is
speak in the
putting in
interest
so
of,
much of money. I
okay,
am not debating on 400 rupees or only on banana or on eggs or
Correct.
whatever. But
Correct.
but sir,
what I am here saying that there is a justice just by there is a decision came from Justice Nariman, who very clearly in his decision said that a restaurant or a hotel can charge a higher MRP on a product because the restaurant is giving you an air conditioning service. They are giving you a servers to serve you food on your table. They are serving you on the table. They are bringing food. They are making it inside their kitchen. There is huge
no,
amount of investment which goes behind the
higher,
curtain
yes,
of any restaurant or any
but
hotel.
not
So I am
the
not
point here,
debating
Varun Dugal
400
Sahab.
or I am not debating 100.
Varun Dugal Sahab, there are no
Yes, sir.
two ways here. I do completely agree with you, and I respect your experience in the hospitality industry. Yes, and should. Five-star hotel comes with all its luxuries, so it should be charged. My point here, simple as an activist, as a consumer, as a citizen of this country, it high should not be too high. The definition should be in the respected means, which viewers, people, callers, we must not feel it's too high. It's ridiculous. A
So
price.
tell
That's my
me,
point.
by that logic, and this is some of our viewers are now writing in and asking this question, Abbas.
Sir,
By that logic, would you then
we
advise
all say
that the
that
government
we
steps
we
in and
all
starts
want to grow in
deciding
this
what the cost
country.
should be for designer brands?
I
Should the
think
government start deciding what a Louis Vuitton or a Burberry or a Versace needs to cost? It's at the end of the day, many viewers believe that it's also just another leather bag with some stitches on it. So now, are you going to say, how can you charge me 5 lakh rupees for that?
I think the government here coming in, I agree with the point which Sumir Soni
No, you charge for your
Saab has
brand.
made, Varun Dugal Saab has
You get
made.
your brand
I
valuation
certainly
done.
do
There is
agree
nothing
with
wrong.
you.
Fix a value for
You
your
know,
brand. Who is saying that don't
there,
fix a value for the brand?
there needs to be a
How is
clear
it?
cut.
So why is it
Sir,
difficult for
we all
us
are
to
here.
accept
Can I come in, please?
that a Taj and
A
a
clear
Marriott
cut
will also charge for
demarcation.
their brand?
Can I please
There
speak
needs
here?
to
Mr.
be a
Tyagi,
clear cut.
Mr.
There
Tyagi,
needs to
why
be a
is it
clear
then
cut
No, you
difficult to
charge.
demarcation
accept
You
and
that a
charge.
Marriott or a
I'm
Taj
I'm
will
not
charge for
denying
their
that.
brand?
Exactly. But let the brand valuation be given some
can I
X
please
value to
comment?
it,
I'm
and
sorry,
you put it into your
I'm
cost. I'm not saying that you give them no cost to it. You give them the cost for air conditioning, you give them the cost for interiors, you give them the cost of the land value, you give them the cost of the
Tanushree, can I come in,
aesthetics and
please?
the environment and ambience you give to the customer. Do the valuation of that cost,
Sir,
because you know why it is
a
coming.
trouser comes
They
for
have
50
abused the
bucks and a
position of the
trouser also
authority,
comes for
and
5
therefore they have
lakhs.
attracted
Who
really
will come
Can I come in,
governmental
please, Tanushree?
intervention.
in
If the
an
reasonable,
apparel
we
industry,
all know from our
we
mind
all are
what
here.
should be the reasonable price. And again,
We
the foods are two
No,
different kinds. One is which is
I think
cooked.
a reasonable
That
price is a
food
very
needs a lot of
subjective term. A
skills.
reasonable price for a daily
Tanushree, I need
wage
to come in.
laborer to even pay to sit in a restaurant
Sir,
and
we
have two
all are
idlis
here.
will be
We
very
all are
different
here.
for a
Think
Rahul Bose to sit in a
restaurant.
Marriott and have two bananas. So a reasonable price is very, very subjective. Quick response from Samir
Yes,
Soni and then Varun Dugal, and
yes,
then we'll go across to
yes.
our viewers. Samir Soni, you
Can I
first.
come in?
No,
You know, okay, look, I think we're confusing two, three issues. One is, what is that product worth? That's one thing. And secondly, how much profit is okay and acceptable for us? For example, if somebody runs a business, is 30% okay, acceptable profit? For example, a banana might cost, taking all the costs involved, 50 rupees. So they should be able to charge 50% profit. So are we going to limit the amount of percentage an enterprise can earn? I mean, is that, and if so, then what percentage is that? And then we'll have to regulate all the industries saying, okay, this is a reasonable amount of money, which means this is a reasonable amount of profit that you can make. And
All
you
right. Okay,
can't do
I
that.
have
As
a
far as
solution for this,
ethical and things
Tanvir.
are concerned,
You see,
reasonable, that's a very emotional,
these
subjective
are
thing.
called predatory
So
pricing.
you can't just
Tanvir
randomly say, okay, you can make
No,
this much
no,
money.
no.
Let me
In
finish.
economic,
okay.
All right,
So
Tanvir.
No, no, no.
in
can I please
economic
comment?
terms,
Like I
Okay,
said,
all
I
four,
totally
all
agree.
four of our
predatory
panelists are
pricing.
talking at the
On
same
that
time.
comment,
Viewers will not be able to understand. Some
a
good
quick
points being
honest
made. Let's
answer to
listen to
this.
each other.
All right.
Yes,
A quick
Varun wanted to make a
point that
point as well. Varun, go ahead, please.
all right.
Yeah, I just wanted to say a trouser costs you 100 bucks.
Yeah.
And why we all are after restaurant or a hotel industry. A trouser costs you in the market 100 bucks. The same and similar trouser will also cost you 5 lakh rupees in the Indian market. The 5 lakh rupee trouser will be a luxury trouser with a luxury brand attached to it. Obviously, Four Seasons Hotel or any Taj Hotel or JW Marriott, these all falls under luxury, similar kind of the example what I have given for a trouser. So if someone is buying banana at 5 rupees at a street, he will get banana at 442 in a Marriott. Because someone is buying
let me
100
come
rupee
in,
trouser,
please.
the similar guy buying 5 lakh rupee
Okay.
trouser from a luxury
Okay,
brand.
fair enough, fair
Who
enough.
will
Quickly
define
getting in
and
a
who
word
will
from
draw
Pravin
what is
Muttukuri
costly and
calling
what
us
is
from
not
Mumbai
I'd
costly?
as
like to
well.
make a point, Tanvir.
Pravin, go ahead, please.
Ma'am, I just wanted to tell you there are many things that, now suppose if I order in a hotel, say something worth 5,000 rupees, right? And the bearer will take around half an hour for that, right? To serve the same. Now, we don't, suppose let us assume that we do not know the price of the banana, right? So, the same bearer will have to spend that much of time for the banana also. Right. So it's irrelevant the cost of the product. See, the fixed charges, there are many things like fixed charges which
Right.
have to be added per unit. This amount is to be added on that unit. It's not like a percentage. And another thing, there are many professional people like lawyers, CA, doctors, and all. Then how are you going to calculate? They might give one statement. A lawyer might give you just an idea, and then you might be out of that legal case, and he might charge you anything.
Okay, I get your point.
right.
Thank you
I'd
so
like
much
to-
for
I'd like
calling
to
in.
take a
I'm
quick
sorry,
point,
I'm completely out of
Tanvi ji.
time on this
Quick point,
conversation.
one last point I'd like
So
to
I
make,
will have to
in the
thank
best
our
interest
panelists
of
for
this
joining
debate.
us here. The
Tanvi
debate
ji,
will continue. And just to answer Varun Dugal's questions, why are you after the hotel industry? Trouser can cost 100 rupees and 10 lakh rupees as well. Well, maybe if tomorrow a celebrity tweets about that, we will end up looking at it as well. Fact of the matter is, I believe it's something that the government should leave the market to decide. That the government should leave these high-end luxury businesses to really decide for themselves. These are not essential commodities. These are not essential to people in our country on a daily basis for their survival, even for their basic convenience. And so at every point, government intervention is perhaps not advisable, especially when reasonable price is such a subjective term. Then where do you stop yourself? Where do you stop the interference? How do you regulate, and who all do you regulate? That becomes the big debating point. That's debate number one. We move on to our next conversation.